really hope that the lighting is still okay because it's getting late and I should have filmed this earlier, but
here I am filming it now. Let's just get right into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ocean Baiha, but if that's too much of a tongue twister, then you can call me Ocean B. As you guys can tell by the title of this video, I am going to be talking about, do other people's opinions matter? The last video was about staying true to yourself, and I kind of said in the last video a little bit how it's important to define who you are first before kind of defining who you are in comparison to other people. And so this is me kind of like expressing what I meant by it is important what other people think to a certain extent. In this world, there needs to be balance. If you're so consumed with how you define yourself and what you think about the world, then you kind of miss out about how you're affecting the world around you. And though it is very important to have a good sense of self, it's also very important to know where you stand in comparison to other people.
society
Are kind of like a guideline for your behavior. What is abnormal, acceptable, maybe I shouldn't use those words in terms of like what I'm trying to express. I would say more so like which behaviors aren't the most conducive to the society that we have, or what is less common among peers, and what could be affecting your peers if you were to act out on, say, certain impulses or certain wants or needs that may
belittle, degrade, take away from other people, or affect other people very negatively.
or positively. There could be positive outcomes to an out of character behavior, who knows? But I don't like to say that it's bad to say abnormal or bad behaviors, because every single person I don't think is equally the same at all. We're made in variations for a reason. We're all meant to be different. We're all meant to have different experiences for a reason, because in order for there to be growth, we have to understand the different perspectives. We need to understand the complexity, the variability that is in this world, and that is impossible for one human mind, one human experience to conceive on their own, right? You only get one life, one experience, and there's certain experiences, certain lives that you cannot have for one person in one lifetime. So you do need the other experiences, the other lives, the other perspectives in order to have a better grasp of understanding of what this world is comprised of. But yeah, in large, the point that I'm trying to make is that other people's opinions unfortunately do matter. They do matter, because if everyone just gets to do whatever they want, then how do you create laws? How do we come about rules and regulations that people must follow? Because these rules and regulations are for the people who would want to do differently, for the people that would want to think differently. For some people, some of these laws are not things that they could even conceive. Like, they're not probabilities in their lives. Like, anyone who knows me knows how against violence I am. I think the whole concept is ridiculous. I personally think that violence should not even be a thing. I don't even know why it's a thing. I mean, I know why it's a thing, but I just personally think it's a little bit ridiculous, and I could never put myself in a position where I would need to exert violence towards another person or individual unless I ultimately have no other choice. Now, then comes the question of, in which situation is it ultimately that you have no other choice but to resort to violence? But my ultimate leads are very, 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 you're cutting close. You're cutting really, really close. I just don't believe in it at all. And so laws that revolve around like, well, you'll be sentenced for this, or you'll be caught for that, or you'll be held for this, anything that is in regards to stealing or violence, I cannot even fathom. That's not even a law that applies to me, because it's not something that's a possibility for me at all, right? But there are people who do think of it as a possibility. There are people who actually think that that's like the best resort, the only resort, or the first solution to every problem. And so when it comes to them, there needs to be guidelines, because these guidelines, these regulations, these rules allow them to understand that that's not appropriate for how to conduct yourself in society, because it's to the detriment of others, it's taking from others, it's harming others, it's not beneficial in how we would like our society to run smoothly. That's a question also also of ethics, but I don't really want to get into ethics because ethics is a concept that revolves around values and what you think are good and what's wrong, and those are existential questions or theological questions or metaphysics. The point that I'm trying to make is that there are questions that are unfortunately not something that I could just be more clear cut and direct in responding and giving my point of view without going a little far and beyond in the topic, of course. So why it's important other people's opinions of you is it gives you a sense of how what you bring is being incorporated in society and how it's influencing. I should stop saying society because society in itself is its own enterprise. But let's say how you are incorporates itself in the world that you're in, right? And it's important to have these guidelines. Don't get me wrong, excluding people or belittling or degrading or however you choose to define the exclusion of somebody, of a certain type of person, group, or whatever because they're different isn't okay, because every type of individual has their own qualities that they may bring. So sometimes it's just a matter of nurturing it, addressing it, or sometimes it's not even like, it's the idea that these people are intrinsically flawed in itself. It's kind of wrong. It's kind of better to understand what their differences are than to try to make their difference a bad thing. So for example, let's say I'm in a society where talking a lot is frowned upon. Like it's actually like you could probably argue that I am in a society where talking a lot is frowned upon. But let's just say that I'm genuinely in a society where talking a lot is very much frowned upon and I could get held in contempt for talking too much. And
other people view me as this crazy individual who is completely out of character, but no, who's completely broken.
Her genes are wrong, like something is totally off about this individual, like she needs to be fixed, needs to be removed, like she cannot be a part of this society because there's something wrong with her. But unfortunately, this is my characteristic. So it's more so like, why does she have that quality? What was it meant to bring to her, or why is it flawed, and where did that flaw come from? And it's kind of understanding, okay, like maybe what can we do with this so-called flaw? How could we make it beneficial to the society that we have or to the world that we're in? How could we use it to the advancement of that person, or how can we utilize it for themselves in order to help them? Even though technically in this world it doesn't really work, but it's not to say that people, the point I'm trying to make is that we shouldn't say that just because a person is different then that means there's something wrong with them and they should be ultimately removed. No, that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that at the end of the day, we are all humans. We're all meant to be born with general similar organs, general similar features, as in like head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Now, those may come in different shapes or sizes, depending on what part of the world you're from or what genes you have or whatever. But at the end of the day, we do have the same foundations or should have. And then if a person isn't born with a brain, we understand that there is an abnormality in this person. There's something that's different than the norm or what's regular or what's more familiar within a species. Like I said, I'm trying to say more familiar because like generally that's how mutations form. Like, and if you know anything about mutations are a freak accident that happens in your genes or whatever. And oftentimes, if the mutation is something that is beneficial to your environment, then it will grow and multiply and it will be passed on to generations. But if it's a gene that actually isn't really conducive to society, then it's going to be removed. I was listening to a talk that Jordan B. Peterson was having, and he was saying something about how like sociopaths or psychopaths, though they're basically the proper definition of like a human that lives for survival. Like their whole purpose is to help themselves and feed themselves and their own needs and their own wants. And though logically, if you think about like you're trying to save yourself, your genes, your species, then it would be best to have all of the qualities, all of the skills to be able to help yourself in that sense, to be able to make your species survive. If you really think about it, psychopaths, the sociopath, the things that they do in order to be able to achieve what they want or what they need is kind of like to the extremes. But why is it that it's not more common? Why is it that that change or mutation that they have isn't more popular in society? Because it's not conducive. It doesn't help society at all in any way. So it's not a gene that's going to be as frequent, as popular, as common. And it would only become more popular if it was something that was actually beneficial to the society that, I keep using the word society, but to the world that they're in, but the environment that they're in is what I should say instead. At the end of the day, people having different kinds of traits, got the word that I should use, traits, because genes are just the genetic components, what your building blocks are. Traits are how they're expressed. So I should say traits. And so let's say your traits, whatever trait that you may be expressing, though it's not familiar in the world that it is today, could it become familiar? Is it something that actually could be brought up and make the world better? Or is it something that actually isn't helping? It's actually a flaw. It's something that doesn't encourage the evolvement of your species. And so that's why it's important to kind of see where you stand in terms of society. The point I was trying to make is that you need other people to help you understand, kind of reflect, or to kind of like allow you to figure out how the components that you have of yourself, so that means your genes in combination of your traits, the expression of those genes is being expressed in the world and where it stands in comparison of the world, how it affects it or improves it. I should say consequences, because consequences can be positive or negative. So whichever consequences the components that you have bring to the world, then that gives you a good understanding of where you stand. As I was trying to express earlier in the video, is that we are meant as species to be in collaboration with each other. We need each other to survive. It's been already proven scientifically. Do I have all of the knowledge? No. So I encourage you to do your own research, of course. Do not take my words for it. I will never tell you to take my words for it, but I would definitely say that it's been proven that humans need each other to live. That's why one of the worst punishments in prison is to be in solitary, to be completely left alone and by yourself, because we need human contact in order to survive. So I have a full understanding of what that means and why it is. No, and I'm not going to claim to. I'm still learning. I'm still in the process of understanding it and figuring it out. But I promise you guys that when I do figure it out, I will definitely express it on here. I will share it with you guys. And if you guys know exactly what the science is behind that, please share. Please comment, because I would love to learn about it. If you have any links, books that you want me to read that you think will help me understand this phenomenon a little bit better, please reveal them. But I know that we as a species need each other to survive. And so my speculation would be that we need feedback in order to problem solve. It's kind of like, how shall I say? Let's say if we like talk about like specific professions, then we have like doctors and then engineers and then construction workers and then mechanics, and then we have people for all of these different jobs and who specialize in those things. If everyone was specialized in everything, we'd have everybody who's incompetent, because you wouldn't possibly be able to have enough knowledge in every area enough to be able to excel in that. It's the people who choose to focus on that one thing, to hone certain skills that they do have. So a scientist who chooses to focus on like astrophysics or the biology, cells, plants, whatever that it may be, they'll spend so much time learning that information, specializing in that information, that they'll be experts. And then there are other people who will become experts in that. So then what you would need is those people to come together and explain the components of the world and what is it comprised of in combination of all of these things. And that's kind of how you understand the world that we have today, right? I think like you could argue that there isn't enough incorporation of multiple fields and interests, but ideally that's kind of like a simple form of like trying to understand that concept of different skill sets that are needed for a bigger picture, a bigger and larger understanding of something. Or the better way to say it's kind of like when you're in school, they teach you like 1 + 1 to later on learn that there's like X's and there's parentheses and R's and there's things like that. So it's kind of just like breaking the blocks and then bringing them together for a bigger picture. hopefully you're making sense of all of my rambling and it actually is going somewhere. But yeah, that is the point that I'm trying to make. But at the end of the day, it goes still back to what I was trying to say in the last video, is that your purpose should, who you are in comparison to others, should always, at least to the least, be a reflection of yourself and who you are as that person. So that means that if Ocean, and I understand that Ocean is a talker, and I mean, in the previous video, I was trying to say, like, try to define yourself without having to define yourself in regards to other people and how you're being compared to or in reflection to other people. But for the sake of the argument that I'm trying to make right now, I am going to use an example as such and say that, let's say Ocean is somebody who is a talker and who talks a lot, and it's frowned upon in society, but that is who she is. That is a core definition of who she is and what she's comprised of. But now, if I were to now incorporate this person in society, and we're seeing that flaw, it's now, how can Ocean still have that characteristic but still be engaged in a meaningful way in society? I keep using society. In the world. Engaged in a meaningful way in the world. And I say world. The reason why I don't want to say society, because society is a dictation of what people have chosen is good or bad, or what they're saying is like popular or important at the time. And sometimes what society says isn't a good reference. You shouldn't always do what society tells you to do. You shouldn't follow the trends. You shouldn't follow what everyone's saying. Just because everyone says today we can drink beer, that doesn't mean you should drink beer. Just because everyone says today we should jump off a bridge, that doesn't mean you should jump off a bridge. Just that is why I'm trying not to say society. And it's, I think because of that, it invites you to look at it a little bit more deeper than just saying, oh, well, this is what people are saying about me. It doesn't always matter, because they could just be following the trend. They could just be following what society is telling them, but then society can tell you something else in 5 years. What are intrinsic values that will stay the test of time, right? So it's trying to say that, okay, Ocean is very talkative, and that is something that is a flaw because it triggers a lot of arguments, is what she's bringing to the table with all of this talking. But Ocean, when she's super talkative to her close peers, that then allows for better dialogue. So then, in which case, it seems like a ridiculous kind of example, because I'm trying to like be direct, even though I'm trying to speak of something that's a little bit more discreet than what's in your face, in terms of like, well, I don't really like you talking too much. And another person being like, well, no, I don't like you talking too much. A little bit deeper than that. It's about like a whole system. And I'm trying to say is like, okay, the world that you're in is explaining that talking too much brings people down for the most part. But talking too much calms... Here's a better example. Talking too much calms your nervous system down. And so should that mean that Ocean should completely erase that characteristic of herself because it's frowned upon in society, even though it does bring some good to her, or for even, let's say, to her mother? Then no, Ocean should apply it to herself. That means journal or record herself talk, or have conversations with her mom because her mom enjoys the talking. Then she could apply it in those scenarios, but understand that it isn't helpful in society, and it's not a society. It isn't helpful in the world, and she shouldn't use it in the world, even though she's aware that it's something that is a part of her, but it's something that's a part of her that doesn't help the world grow in and itself. When is it bad to let other people tell you that it's the way you conduct yourself, that specific trait that's being projected is not beneficial? I don't want to say the word bad, but isn't beneficial, is when it undermines yourself. That means by definition, you should be doing things that are true to yourself. So that means anything that you project to the world should be something that you're proud of, that should be something that is true to you. And then decipher, oh, are these characteristics now something that I can utilize in this world, or are they something that are going to hold me back in this world? And can I tune it or refine it so that it can be better but still be being authentic to me? And so if I have to refer back to the idea of I talk a lot and it's not conducive to society, but when I do talk, let's say, it does resonate, but the talking too much is affecting some people in some type of way. And so that means, can I still talk while refining it? That means maybe use lesser words or using vocabulary that's more common to others. If I'm speaking in a way that people cannot understand, well, okay, as long as I'm still saying what I want to say and it's still true to me, but I'm refining it so that it can be more comprehensive, is that not still being authentic to me? Authentic to me doesn't mean just do whatever I want. Authentic to me means that I'm doing what reflects me still by understanding how it's being incorporated into the world. That's kind of like the bigger picture that I'm trying to like bring for, and believe it or not, this is a concept that I'm trying to fathom for myself. I'm not speaking as if I have so much knowledge or better understanding on it, but it's something that I've just kind of been reflecting and contemplating and putting pieces together to understand that how do I be true to myself, be who I want to be, but still have it be projected in the world in a way that is going to be helpful and conducive and help bring people up and bring people together rather than separate them or create friction or create conflict. Because if we learn to work together, everybody's being themselves, but understanding how themselves are now affecting the general public, then we can come to a consensus where everybody is proud of who they are, but are still trying to benefit other people. And it's kind of the idea of like, we need a balance. Focus on you while still focusing on everyone else is like the bigger picture that I'm trying to put out here. I think the best way that I could put it into words would be adopt yourself to people within your own identity. I've been often told that I just have the tendency to like, or not even told, but like I am very aware that I have the tendency to just give advice or give my opinion on a matter. And sometimes it's not necessarily helpful in certain situations. Sometimes it's just not something that is needed for a person's nervous system, because at times when a person's nervous system is very, very, very much alarmed, under stress, then solutions isn't always the thing that helps the stressor calm down, right? Or the alarm shut off. The way to shut off the alarm is to make the alarm believe that there's no more danger. Sometimes what I need to do is just kind of listen or be supportive, but can I still be myself whilst being supported? That means give the person what is needed for them while still being true to myself. Other people might outright need for me to give my opinion or give my advice, but other people might just need the support. But I could still give them support while still directing them that will resonate to what they need for them in that moment. And so that is kind of the battle that I guess that I've been trying to figure out for myself. And I think more and more I'm starting to understand how to apply it a little bit better, how to like be the person that I want to be, that I am, that I think is a better reflection of who I am, or a better reflection of my expectations for myself and how I think I conduct myself, while still behaving appropriately in accordance to what the world needs from me. That is, I think, a good enough summary of what I was trying to tackle in this video. I don't think these videos these are more so introductory videos. They don't need to be very long. I think I'm gonna end the video here. I hope you enjoyed. I thank you again if you listened all the way to the end. Me, as society says, yapping, as my peers like to call it. And I hope you enjoy your day, afternoon, evening, morning, whatever time it may be that you are watching this, and take care of yourself. I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on your post notifications. And thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.